Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So as Paige mentioned, I'm Alex, and with me also is Steve. We're both from representing Taiwan Tourism, and specifically in Vancouver, we have the Taiwan Tourism Information Center, where if you're ever looking to get more information or some print information, or you're ever in Vancouver and want to stop by, then do check out that. I will put up the contact details for that later on. So we're going to get started. It's going to be myself and Steve presenting, and we'll be kind of switching back and forth. If you do have any questions, do leave those in the Q&A section of the chat, and Paige will sort of highlight a few of those questions at the end. So we're going to talk a bit about adventures in Taiwan. So for those of you not familiar with Taiwan, I see a few familiar names in the chat saying hi. So I know a few of you are quite familiar with Taiwan, but for those who aren't, the slogan of Taiwan Tourism is Waves of Wonder. And we're going to play a brief video for you now, which kind of introduces kind of where that slogan came from. So the waves represent not just sort of the water activities you can do in Taiwan, but also kind of the curvature of the landscapes, the mountainous landscapes that cover Taiwan, as well as some of the other kind of cultural icons throughout. So Paige, if you could cue up that video, please. So that gives you a brief idea about the branding for Taiwan Tourism, and you can see the kind of vibrant orange, a lot of the vibrant colors that kind of are used throughout the branding. And if you ever visit us at any of the exhibitions, so we were at the Outdoor Adventure Show in Vancouver. Steve was there in particular a few weeks ago, and this weekend we've got the Calgary version of that coming up. So if anyone's in Calgary, I see a couple of highs from Calgary there, so make sure you stop by our booth there. I'm going to pass over to Steve, who's going to tell you a bit more of the basics about getting around Taiwan.
All right, thanks, Alex. And it's very nice to have you all joining us today. And what we'll do is we'll try to give you an overview. I mean, I think most of you probably know where Taiwan is, but for those that are not familiar with Taiwan, this is a chance for you to learn about Taiwan, and hopefully from there on you'll be able to sell more Taiwan to your clients. So let me start off with geography here. So Taiwan is in the heart of Asia, as you can see on the map. So it's perfectly situated in the heart of Asia, and it is a central hub, as you can see. Where we're located, we're actually not far off from Japan, Korea, and as well as Thailand. So 3 hours flights between Taiwan and Japan and South Korea, and about 5 hours to Thailand and Vietnam. So for those that are interested in traveling to Taiwan, a lot of people actually transiting in Taiwan as a hub, and then they stop over for 3 days up to 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on what what you want to do in Taiwan. And then they continue on to Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam, or Thailand. So you can make two destinations in one trip. So that's the idea. So where Taiwan is now. Let's move on to the next slide here. Okay. I would think that in the Vancouver show, I asked how many people has actually seen the show on Netflix about Alex Honnold climbing Taipei 101. I would assume some of you on this webinar have seen that show. If not, do check it out. Search on, I think it's on YouTube as well. So this guy is he's spectacular. He's climbing 101, Taipei 101 building. It's a 101 story building. He climbed it without ropes. So imagine that. It's pretty impressive. So go check it out. Some of you might know bubble tea is actually it's actually from Taiwan, right? So you'll see when you have a chance to get to Taiwan, there's a lot of bubble tea shops, pretty much on every block. So to check that out. And Taiwan is one of the most democratic country in Asia, and it's the first country that legalized same-sex marriage, right? Also, I think some of you might have heard about Taiwan Semiconductor. Is one of the world-leading semiconductor manufacturing in the world. So they're actually a headquarter in Taiwan. Okay, so those are interesting facts I wanted to share with you all. All right. Okay, so it's interesting that in a small island of Taiwan, it's about 14,000 square miles, and it actually holds about 23 million friendly people there, right? 23 million. Canada is about 35 million ish, but just imagine such a small island. There's about 23 million people living on there, but they're all friendly people. You'll see when you get there. All right, and in terms of currency, it's roughly about $1 Canadian to about $23 New Taiwan dollar. So if you're familiar with the currency between Canadian and Thai baht, it's roughly about the same. Okay, and in terms of time zone, Taiwan is about 16 hours ahead of Vancouver, Western Canada. Okay. All right, moving on. And there's so many flights to get to Taiwan from North America. So as you can see on the map, there's multiple different hubs from North America. If you're from Vancouver, or if you're from Canada, there's Vancouver and Toronto, and you can always go down to Seattle and fly from there as well. From Eastern U.S., there's New York, Central U.S., Chicago, Dallas, and Houston, so on and so forth. So there's many flights to get to Taiwan. So it's very convenient. They're all nonstop flights. So the China Airlines is one of them from Vancouver. We have EVA Air from Vancouver and Toronto, and Starlux, United, and Delta are servicing from United States, nonstop to Taiwan. Okay. All right. In terms of a question about what does it require for me to travel to Taiwan? There's no visa required, right? No ESTA or ETA required, and Canadians and U.S. citizens can travel to Taiwan and have fun in Taiwan for up to 90 days. So it's very, very easy. Nothing to do in terms of just booking your flights, your hotels, and transportations ahead of time, and away you go. Once you get into Taiwan, it's very easy to get around. So there's high-speed rail And imagine such a small island, there's still high-speed rail, just like in Japan. Right? So if you want to travel from north to south, our capital city is in Taipei in the north, and traveling from Taipei down to as far as Kaohsiung, which is southwestern part of Taiwan, it takes about only 90 minutes. So hour and a half traveling from north to south. And obviously you can stop along the way to check out different cities. What Alex will cover about some special offerings about that we're offering on high-speed rails, where you can kind of you can make stop in every city. So that's available too. So Alex will cover that later on. And there's MRT in major cities in Taiwan. So just like our SkyTrain here in Vancouver, and street rails here, in Calgary, for example. It's very convenient to travel around. Convenient train. There's a lot of trains going around and some tourist bus that you can book ahead of time. All right, and it's very, very affordable in terms of spending your day in Taiwan. MRT costs about $3 to $3 depending on the distance you travel, and taxi is probably just fractional rate here compared to Canada. It's about $3, $2 per mile. So I mean, everything is so close in Taiwan, in any cities in Taiwan. So every trip is about probably less than $5 for every trip if you're traveling on taxi. In terms of accommodation, there's different range of choices that you can select. There's Airbnb homestays. They range about $85 Canadians up to as high-end hotels like $250. So that's the range, right? It's pretty similar. I was in Thailand actually last year, and it's actually not more expensive than Thailand. So I mean, the currency right now in Thailand is actually more expensive than if you were to exchange currency in Taiwan. So it's actually much more affordable to travel to Taiwan than to Thailand right now. All right. Okay, so I'll turn to Alex to cover the rest of the slide. I'll come back to you later on.
Yeah. So thanks, Steve. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the adventures that you can have in Taiwan or at least when you're sending your travelers to Taiwan. So one of the key things that's very popular to do in Taiwan is cycling. A couple of the world's largest bicycle manufacturers are actually from Taiwan, such as Giant and Merida. And Taiwan Tourism has been developing this cycle route #1, they call it, that goes around the entire island. You can see this orange line here, and you can do a great tour of Taiwan purely on bike and spend, maybe a week or 10 days, depending on your pace, visiting, every major city and many of the tourist sites. And it's very well structured, and there's many different maps and routes that you can follow. And there's supply stations approximately every 20 kilometers or so that make it very easy to get more water, or if you need to fix your bike or anything like that. The Taiwanese airlines also make it very easy to ship your bike from Canada, or otherwise, because there are so many bike shops island-wide, and many of them are connected by brand, you can rent one in one city and drop it off in another. It's very easy to do that kind of thing, get around on bike. And later on, there's also going to be a new cycle route, I believe for cycle route #2, that will be sort of even more adventures that people can have to sort of visit more places. And it was recognized by CNN as one of the top most beautiful bike paths to cycle around Sun Moon Lake. And that's also been added as a Tour de France sort of smaller challenge called L'Etape Tour de France challenge at Sun Moon Lake. So it's well worth doing that if you're a cyclist. Now, there's many other outdoor adventures that can be had. But first, Paige, if you'd like to cue up a little video we have to introduce those.
Keep running.
Discover now. Taiwan Waves of Wonder.
So as you saw from that video, there's clearly a lot of water adventures to be had in Taiwan, whether you're diving or surfing. There's actually quite a few big international surf competitions in various parts of Taiwan. There's also so many mountains, 268 over 3,000 meters in height, because Taiwan's so very mountainous down the middle, and there's a lot of people challenging themselves to visit like the top 100 peaks in Taiwan. And beyond those kind of super active outdoor adventures, there's also a lot of nature that you can experience in Taiwan. There's so many unique birds and over 300 species of butterfly. It's actually one of the most concentrated regions for butterflies in the world, and you can also chase things like fireflies. There's also so much other natural diversity there, and you can also experience natural wonders such as the one I have here on the top right, which is this bioluminescent plankton that at night you can see it kind of turns the water an eerie blue color. So a lot of cool things to see and do in the outdoors. Now, we're going to talk a bit about cultural adventures, and we have another video. If Paige, you could cue that up, please.
Engage now. Taiwan Waves of Wonder.
Okay, I see some good questions coming in, and we'll get to those at the end. But I see some good ones there about biking and stuff. So Taiwan is obviously a very interesting place culturally. It's been a big melting pot of different cultures. Obviously, there's the Chinese culture that everyone's familiar with, but there's also indigenous cultures. As you saw in that video, there's 16 different tribes, each with their own languages, unique dress styles, and I know Canada is very big on protecting their kind of indigenous tribes, and that's been a big thing in Taiwan too. So you can actually have various experiences with those different tribes, whether it's things like making glass beads or participating in various ceremonies. And there's also the Hakka culture as well that's very important, and various street parades and other temple culture you can participate in. And one of the best things about Taiwan is it's all very open to foreigners participating in these things. There's nothing closed off that you can't do. If you want to, for example, burn some money for your ancestors, you're welcome to just go to a temple. You spend a few dollars on like some paper money that they put into the furnaces to sort of put that up to your ancestors in heaven. You can participate in that. There's also things like releasing sky lanterns, which is a popular thing for foreigners to do, where you write your wishes on those lanterns. And there's a specific town called Pingxi in northern Taiwan, not too far from Taipei, where you can go and do that. And then there's also like the Dutch fortresses that you'll see in Tainan, which was the former capital. And that's, kind of a bit of European cultural influences over the years. And of course, in the past, there were other influences such as Japanese culture and like the Portuguese and so forth. Now, also an important place to visit when you are in Taiwan is the National Palace Museum. There's actually one in the north and one in the south, and there's over 700,000 artifacts there, many of which came from China from the revolutionary times of the Qing dynasty, and you can see some amazing pieces of jade art and so forth. So actually, if you want to experience Chinese culture, but you don't want to deal with the visas and all the various politics there, then come to Taiwan and you'll actually experience maybe more Chinese culture than you would there and more easily. Next up, we have food adventures. So you can't talk about Taiwan without talking about food. Towards the end of that video, there was actually a little flicker of a night market, and night markets are known for the food you can experience there. And there's also typically a lot of traditional games you can play that you might at a fairground, play different, bouncing balls into holes to get points, and then ring toss and stuff like that. Lots of kind of Taiwanese pinball. You'll actually experience that at many of the trade shows. We'll bring a little Taiwanese pinball game to those. So if you visit us at Calgary, you'll probably get a chance to play that for some gifts. And there's many different traditional dishes that are worth trying out that you won't get in many other places, such as beef noodle soup and some amazing desserts like shaved ice that's kind of very fluffy and delicious. And of course, because Taiwan is a tropical climate, we actually grow a lot of the fruit, locally. There's very little that's imported, so you get amazing juices, and that fruit also makes its way into so many of those desserts, or on top of the shaved ice and so forth. And as Steve mentioned before, Taiwan's the home of bubble tea and basically any other kind of tea too. And we have some amazing oolong tea from Alishan, and some great things like fried chicken. And also, if you're vegetarian, which I am, it's a great place for that as well, because of many people being of the Buddhist persuasion. You'll find so many amazing vegetarian buffets that are worth checking out, and again, very affordable. And most restaurants will have at least one or two vegetarian dishes, so it's very, very accessible if that's what you're into. It's also worth checking out the Michelin Guide. So they have published physical books every year or two. There's a new one coming out, and slowly they're expanding to more and more cities. So it's like Taipei, Taichung, Tainan, and so forth. It's kind of the major cities are all now included in that. If you go to their website, you'll actually find over 400 recommended places there, and you can search by types of cuisine, and you'll find many things that are very affordable, just about $20 or $30 for a highly rated meal. Shopping is also a very big thing in Taiwan. It's a great place to buy gifts to take home with you. A couple of things I'd like to highlight. So the world's best whiskey comes from Taiwan, and particularly Yilan is the home of Kavalan whiskey, which was kind of the one that kicked off this trend for Taiwanese to start brewing different kinds of liquor and alcohol that now is winning all the prizes. So, you may have thought the best whiskey was from Scotland or maybe Ireland or something like that, but no, it actually comes from Taiwan as rated by, the experts. Of course, as Steve mentioned before, TSMC and many other electronics manufacturers for the chips come from Taiwan. So you can get some, great deals by visiting places like the Signtrend and Guanghua Digital Plazas. And there's many other like traditional places you can experience some amazing tea, get some great crafts, and some pineapple cakes is a very popular gift to take home because those last quite a long time, and you can taste those with the tea that you brought with you. And you can also, you may not be buying them, but you can buy some traditional clothes, and or rent them, and then you can go off into some of those old streets, which basically every town and city has those, and you can go take some amazing photos kind of in a traditional way that's very popular to do. And we have another video page, if you could cue that up, please.
Enjoy now. Taiwan Waves of Wonder.
So as you see there, there's lots of amazing foods to try. There's really this trend towards trying to get those Michelin stars or highly rated restaurants and cafes, and there's so many that pop up everywhere. Like, it's really a great place to go, and also it's just very affordable to have some amazing food as well, and no tipping, which is also a very big thing for a lot of people. You don't have to worry about adding any taxes or tips afterwards. Sometimes, or some restaurants might have standard, for example, 10% service charge, but otherwise the prices that you see is the price you pay, and it's very easy for people to navigate that, and it's very affordable versus North American prices. So lastly, for this section, I'm going to talk a little bit about nighttime adventures. And this is one of the things I love about Taiwan most, is that basically there's always something to do, and it's also super safe at night. Taiwan is literally one of the safest places on earth. Basically, even as a solo female traveler, you could walk the streets of any city or elsewhere and feel totally safe and not worried at all. And also just everyone's so friendly that if you needed directions anywhere at any time of day, they'd help you out. They'd probably take you there. But in terms of the things to do, the number one thing basically is the night markets, and every city has many of those, typically open until around 11 p.m. or so, sometimes midnight or so on weekends, and or at least until they're sold out of their particular snacks. So those are definitely worth sending everyone to. And then the malls are open very late as well, typically until 10 p.m., sometimes 10:30. And we also have some 24-hour bookstores, or otherwise, if you're into more sort of musical entertainment, then there's things like karaoke, nightclubs, bars, and so forth. Or if you want to have just a relaxing time, taking a nice stroll by the river is something a lot of people like to do in the major cities. They tend to be quite beautiful and nicely lit up. A lot of the bridges across those rivers also tend to have quite nice night lighting, and again, it's very safe to do so. You can also rent bikes. We have what we call the U-bike system, which you basically rent by the minute, and those are docked bikes that you can rent in one place and drop them off in another. And a lot of people like to cycle or by the river, and that's a lovely thing to do. Or you can go enjoy a nice hot spring. There are some public ones that you can do, or otherwise there are a lot of hot spring hotels, particularly for example, like in the north of Taipei. A lot of people like to go there for a relaxing evening and maybe stay the night in one of those hot spring hotels. So now I'm going to pass back over to Steve, who's going to tell you a couple of the key sites in each of the major regions of Taiwan.
All right, thanks, Alex. That's a pretty good coverage. I like the fact that you mentioned about doesn't have people there, they don't have to pay tips while they're at the restaurant. That's pretty attractive. So I mean, we're all used to paying tip here in Canada, and without paying tips in Taiwan is just fantastic. All right, okay. Let me just quickly go ahead and kind of make a pretty just an overview of what can you see in northern Taiwan, in central and south Taiwan, as well as eastern Taiwan. We'll kind of break it down into 4 parts. So for those that wanted to see some iconic landmarks, some modern architectural buildings, definitely in northern Taiwan. Right, there's some in southern Taiwan, Kaohsiung as well, but Taipei, our capital city of Taiwan, is definitely the place to go. We talked about Alex Honnold climbing Taipei 101, and that's located in the heart of Taipei. And just in the surrounding of that Taipei 101, there's a lot of shopping to do. There's tons of restaurants. It's just a central place in Taipei that you can visit. And in the northern part, just north of Taipei City, there is a Yelu Geopark. It's a queen's head that you can see on the photo there. So on the video, it also show there's a pathway that you can walk by this queen head. As you know, this queen head, the neck is getting thinner and thinner as year goes by. So do make some time in the next few years to try to visit. We don't know how long that's going to last. Hopefully, it'll be a few more years or several more years. But go as early as you can to check that out. It's pretty cool to see. And we also have the kind of the old world atmosphere of Pingxi and Jiufen. So Pingxi and Jiufen, in Pingxi you could actually light up your lanterns. In Jiufen, it's an old street sort of area. There's some sort of similar like a night market, but it's not actually a night market, it's a day market. So you can walk by the alley there. There's some cool alleys that you can walk through. There's some snacks, a lot of different kind of snacks, and a lot of local different kind of knitting that you can buy, shoes and stuff. So it's a pretty cool place to check out. All right, so let's just move down to central Taiwan. So again, so to travel from north to central to south, you could either travel on high-speed rail. That would be the quickest way to travel. Within each city, in Taipei and Taichung, in central Taiwan, there's MRT as well. So it's easy to travel within the city. And if you don't like MRT, you can always travel on taxi. So they're all pretty economical to travel. So in central Taiwan, it offers modern architecture as well, some natural beauties. The key highlights here, including National Taichung Theater. It's a vibrant, and there's also a vibrant rainbow village that you can check out. It's pretty colorful village, small village that you can check out for tourists. It's pretty interesting. And there's Salmon Lake that Alex was referring to earlier. You can just be there, admire the lake in the morning, or late afternoon. You can always rent a bike to bike along the lake shore. It's pretty cool to do. There's a Lugang town. It's a historic town that you can visit in central Taiwan. So just some highlights of where things are in each region in Taiwan. So moving down to southern Taiwan, there's Alishan Forest. Within that Alishan landscape, there's train, sort of a train for tourists. If you choose to go on that train, it's going to take you along a trail through the forest, which is it's just a fun thing to do while you're there. And we have the Anping Old Fort. So it's a fort that going back to European times. So it's also a good place to check out. And Dragon and Tiger pagodas. That's in Kaohsiung. Okay. For those that like beach, definitely go to southern Taiwan, as you see on the map there. If you go way down south, Kenting Beach is where you can enjoy the ocean. All right. Okay, moving on to Eastern Taiwan real quick. Here is Eastern Taiwan is famous for breathtaking landscape. So you can see blue turquoise ocean in Eastern Taiwan, especially for those bikers. I can actually ride along Taroko Gorge. There's some tourist buses that can take you to Taroko Gorge as well. It's just like Grand Canyon. Smaller scale, but it's actually still, a breathtaking place to visit. There's also a place where museum you can visit museum, Nanyang Museum, and as well as the Sanshan Tai Bridge in Taitung, where you can visit. You can actually go across the bridge. Through over the water, so that's pretty cool to see. Okay. All right. So there's some offshore. As you know, Taiwan's the main island. There's some offshore islands that you can visit. If you spend more times in Taiwan, I would say probably more than a week, then you'll have enough time to visit offshore islands. And what you can see there is some of the cool landscape as well. Spend time to get to know about culture in offshore islands. That's something you can choose to do. There's some ferries that can take you over to the islands, or there's some flights that you can take you over to the islands too. And like Alex referring to, and it's absolutely very safe to travel in Taiwan, right? Solo travelers, no problem, right? Language wise, it's actually people there are very, very nice, right? They're very willing to help visitors. So communicating in English, it's definitely fine, especially in Taipei, in the city of Taipei. It's just you have no problem getting around. It's very convenient. Talking about convenience, there, some of you might know or might not know, 7-Eleven, like I said many times to people haven't traveled to Taiwan. Taiwan is the place where 7-Eleven is the most has the most density in Taiwan. Right, every block you'll see 7-Eleven, so it's very convenient. And it's not the same as in North America, where you can only buy drinks and some chocolate bars. In Taiwan, you got everything, right? From hot food to ice creams to anything you can think of, right? So it's very convenient. You won't get hungry in Taiwan, trust me. All right. Wi-Fi access is pretty much everywhere you go. I mean, if you go to shopping malls, if you go to Starbucks, to coffee shops, it's just easy access. If you don't have, I mean, nowadays everybody carry cellular data, but anywhere, if you can't access or you want Wi-Fi access, there's always easy to get access. And we mentioned about LGBTQ friendly. Taiwan is just the friendliest country to visit overall.
Okay, so I'll take over from here. So now I'm going to talk about some of the things you can specifically promote to your travelers. So one of the things, if your travelers are visiting Taiwan for a layover of 7 to 24 hours, Taiwan Tourism actually organizes free half-day tours. And there's 3 different itineraries, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening. There's also a self-guided itinerary that people can do anytime. And it's free to register for that if you go to that website, scanning the QR code. And later on, after this, we'll send out an email which includes a copy of this file, so you can scan that at your leisure. Or it's also accessible via the main Taiwan Tourism website. If you do that, then you can see how many seats are actually available on the buses, and you can basically book your seats before you get there. So that's great. And currently as well, for people that pre-register for such a tour, there's actually a voucher that's worth around 26 Canadian dollars that you can spend in the airport. So, Taiwan is really a great transit hub, as Steve mentioned earlier. With all of the major Taiwanese airlines, they do a roaring business actually flying, from Taiwan to other Asian destinations. So, any travelers that you have who want to visit any Asian countries, you should really suggest to them to fly through Taiwan, because it's not only very affordable, the quality of those airlines is, really world class, and they're all reliable, virtually no cancellations, and just because of these additional deals that you'll get with Taiwan Tourism, they can then experience those half-day tours in Taiwan. And what we're hearing is that a lot of people that do these half-day tours want to then come back to Taiwan for a longer period, because it kind of gives them a taste of what they could otherwise be experiencing on a longer trip. So it's well worth doing that if you want to have later more business, selling a full package to Taiwan. Now, there's the Taiwan Pass as well. So there were some questions in the chat about how you get discounted railway tickets or high-speed rail tickets. So Taiwan Pass is an app that you download on your phone, and then you can, through different vendors, some like Klook or otherwise, they sell these other packages that you kind of load into the app. And there are a few different ones which basically get you discounts on 3 or 5 day rail tickets. And that's kind of like unlimited travel on the high-speed rail. But this is specifically for foreign passport holders, and non-residents. So if you're a tourist coming to Taiwan, then it's well worth getting those deals to, say, do a 3-day or say a 5-day trip around Taiwan, and then have that unlimited rail, as makes it very affordable. There's also this great map that's been produced by Taiwan Tourism, and again, that's something you can get later with the QR code if you can't scan it right now, which highlights the key 100 tourism spots that you want to check out. So make sure you get a hold of that if you can, and there are physical copies of that sometimes available too at our events. And that's basically it for this. If you do have any questions beside this actual session, then do send us an email to TTIC, that's Taiwan Tourism Information Center, YVR, at purple.media, which is the agency that runs the center on behalf of Taiwan Tourism, or you can call the number below there. You can, of course, visit it. It's in Richmond, near Richmond Brickhouse SkyTrain station. And otherwise see us at the Calgary Outdoor Adventure Show. We will have a lucky draw later for those of you who were with us today, and we'll announce that in an email sent out after, which includes this, and we'll say who the winners were for those lucky gift bags. And if you do, after this session, fill out the survey, scanning the QR code here, or if at the end of the session when it ends, you'll be redirected to that page for the survey. If you don't have the ability to scan the QR code right now, then we're giving away a few Amazon coupons there as well. And again, those will be announced in the email we'll send out after this session in the coming couple of days. So make sure you keep an eye out for that email. But for now, I think we're going to leave it there. And if Paige, if there's any particular questions that might be worth discussing now, then we can answer those. Okay.
Great. So thank you, Steve, and thank you, Alex, for that lovely presentation. So as Alex mentioned, if there's any questions, we're going to get on to the question and answer portion. So you're welcome to put those in the chat. I did see a few here. I saw a question from Martine asking, is it easy to rent an electric bike?
Yes, so there's actually the U-Bike system I mentioned before that's available in each of the major cities. They actually have an increasing number of electric bikes. So in the past, they were just a regular bike that's a docked bike, but now more and more of those are actually kind of half electric powered. So as you start pedaling, they start to pull you along a bit more. So that's kind of the easiest one. But basically, almost all of the bike shops, I would say, have electric versions as well for rental as well. There's also, I think what's even more fun is if you are visiting with someone, they have tandem bicycles for rental, and that's where, you know, two of you are cycling on the same bike, and you know that's can be both, you know, fun and frustrating, whether you're a couple or cycling with a child or something like that. And for me, that was one of the best experiences I've had kind of cycling in Taiwan, is, you know, renting that with a friend. And because it just, nobody owns a tandem bicycle, so, you know, electric bikes are pretty easy to get. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, for the U-bike, there's an app that you can actually register into, and it's easy if you have the app on, and you just tap and go.
Yes. So yeah, you can use the U-bike app to see where electric bikes are available as well. There's kind of like a little lightning symbol as well. You can see all of the U-bike stops, so you can see where you're going from and to, and map out where has available docks or where it has available bikes and which of those bikes are electric. And I'd say right now around 30% or half of them are looking like they're electric in many major hotspots.
That's great. I guess coming off of the bike question as well, Janet asked, do the trains permit bikes?
Yes, so basically all of them do. Most of them have, usually it's like the back carriage, I think. They'll have a designated part for that. And some of the metro lines, they do have some hours or some stations which might not permit bikes on during that time, you know, maybe during rush hour, or some stations won't really permit you to come up on with a bike then. But generally speaking, most of them do. And for the long distance travel, yes, most of them have carriages designated for that. And yeah, usually at no additional cost to sort of have your bike there. And as we've mentioned before with safety, you know, like, for example, I'm from London in the UK, and people get their bikes stolen all the time. This is one of the safest places on earth. You don't have to worry about that kind of thing. Of course, lock your bike. I'm not saying don't do that, but just because I'm not going to be held responsible for what happens. But generally speaking, it's so safe. So yeah, it's just hassle-free.
Yeah, Alex is the right guy to say this because he's originally from UK, and he's now living in Taiwan, so he knows the difference there.
Yeah.
Awesome. We also have a question here from Karamath asking, what's one cultural etiquette or local norm that Canadian/US travelers are often unaware of that, but should be?
So I would say, I mean, it does a bit come back to that tipping thing where basically it is a cultural norm not to tip. I mean, people get paid you know, a wage for that's relatively fair for their work, and it's kind of weird to give more money than you are supposed to give. So I'd say that's kind of a cultural norm there. I'd say it's also just general politeness as well, particularly to foreigners. It's not one of those countries where you might get stared at for being a foreigner. You know, if you've ever been to, you know, for example, some places in China or elsewhere in Asia, as a foreigner, you might, you know, be stared at. So as a cult, it's a very open and accepting cultural place, and I think it's just so normal in that sense for that. I did see another question from Karamath as well that was asking about halal friendly services in Taiwan, and there is a lot of halal dining. There's actually a whole dedicated section and guidebooks available on the Taiwan Tourism website for halal dining. So yeah, make sure you look up that. You just visit the dining section or cuisine section of the Taiwan Tourism website, and you'll find some downloadable guides for that, because there's a very big Indonesian population here that are Muslim, and so yeah, plenty of Muslim and halal friendly options.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. So if there's any other questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat now. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. Alex, was there any other questions that you saw that you wanted to address?
Yeah, I think those are all the key ones. I mean, there was questions about getting the train passes. Again, go with the Taiwan pass. website, twpass.tw, where you can get those. And there was a question about, I think from Newton, about FAMs, or I assume FAM trips. Yes, Taiwan Tourism does run multiple FAM trips throughout the year. It does depend on where you are located. So there's 3 main offices for Taiwan Tourism in the US. The New York office, which runs kind of the eastern US and up into Toronto as well for Canada, and some of the, the surrounding areas there. And then on the West Coast, we have the San Francisco and LA offices. The San Francisco office manages the Vancouver and Western Canada market, Calgary and so forth. So there are FAM trips typically most years for kind of each of those markets. So depending on where you are, you can get in touch with kind of the responsible team there, or again, use this email address here and we can connect you accordingly. And depending on, whether it's a trade or media trip, hopefully there's a chance we can get you on there.
Awesome, thank you. So I guess now that all the questions have been answered, I'm going to close out the webinar for today. So with that, why don't we wrap things up? Thank you again to Alex and Steve, and thank you for everyone for being here today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.